Hello guys, today I am going to be doing my updated 25-26 Premier League predictions. As you can see, just like the Championship, I've got all 20 teams scattered in front of me on this tier list. And I'm going to be working my way, as I did for the Championship, from the bottom to the top. I'm going to break the fourth wall here. I am actually recording this on the Tuesday night. It'll be up tomorrow, which will be today, tomorrow morning. And without further ado, let's begin. Who do I have in 20th place? Well, I've got Burnley, and Burnley's a tricky one. Yeah, they got that win against Sunderland, and they got a good draw in the last game. Oh, by the way, this is just after 3 games. So don't take too much into it. But I'm just not sure if I've seen quite enough for Burnley to warrant them anything but bottom. And it's not so much that I've been, it's not so much that I've been not impressed by them, but just I don't think I've seen quite enough from them. And who else do I have? Well, in 19th place, I'm going with Wolves. And Wolves, yeah, they lost 4-0 to Man City on the opening day. That is a big defeat. And, well, I think they've got 1 point from a draw, maybe, but they haven't been impressive by any stretch of the imagination. And, well, I just worry for them, really, coming into the season. They have kept hold of Strand Larsen. He's a good hold on, but I think the squad is just a bit thin, and I just worry for them. And the final team I have getting relegated, and this may be controversial, in 18th place I'm going with Leeds. And Leeds have got a couple of good results. They got a 0-0 draw against Newcastle. Apparently a boring game, but it's a good result for them. A good result for Leeds, drawing 0-0 with Newcastle. They have brought in, of course, Sean Longstaff and Dominic Calvert-Lewin, but I just don't know if their squad is, up to the standard as some of the other teams who've got in front of me here. And then on to lower mid-table, or the surviving category. In 17th place, I'm going with West Ham. And it was quite tempting. Now, it's funny, over the weekend I had West Ham bottom in my predictions updated, because they lost 3-0 to Sunderland and 5-1 to Chelsea. But they did go on and beat Nottingham Forest 3-0. And I think the squad they have is easily enough to stay up in this league. I'm not sure if Graham Potter's the right man to bring them survival, but I think they can survive. And yeah, it's like the Championship. I'll probably revisit this at some stage this season. I wonder what the bookies say about them, but at the minute I have them just surviving. It could go in either direction, and I think it could be quite a long trudge for West Ham this season. But I think they'll survive on the final day or so. And then in 16th place, I've gone for Sunderland. I like Sunderland, and I like Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. I think Sunderland's home form might be enough to get them over the line this season. Because I've been impressed by what they've done this season. They've won both of their home games so far. Yeah, they did lose, I think, 2-0 to Burnley, but that was at Turf Moor, and I think Burnley will be strong at home this season. But Sunderland, yeah, I like them at the Stadium of Light, and I think they'll get the bulk of their points, most of their points, at home, and I think it'll be enough to stay up and avoid the drop this season. Then on to what is 15th place. I'm going with Brentford. And Brentford I was a bit worried about at the start of the season. But Keith Andrews has got a couple good results. And they have lost Mbeumo and Wissa. But, you know, I think from what I've seen from Keith Andrews, he's got enough to keep them up in this division. And I think what Brentford do is they always have good signings, and you've got, you know, I think Mikkel Damsgaard. They've brought him in, and well, of course Schade, he's going to give Brentford some goals as well this season. Kelleher, I actually rate him as a goalkeeper, formerly of Liverpool, and I think Brentford have enough to stay up this season. Yeah, I was worried about losing Thomas Frank, but I think they'll stay up. And then into 14th place, and this is a non-mover from my original predictions, I'm going with Fulham. And I could easily put Fulham higher on this list, but I don't know. I expect mid-table. I don't expect a relegation fight from Fulham this season. But I expect mid-table. I mean, they've brought in Kevin, who they've been targeting all summer. I think he could be a good signing for them here, but I just wonder if, you know, the squad is a bit thin still. I mean, they've still got, like, Smith Rowe, Jimenez, but I just don't know. I think Fulham, yeah, I think it'll be a mid-table finish for them. I don't really have too much to say on them. And 13th place is another non-mover from my original predictions. I've still got Crystal Palace in 13th place, the final team in this lower mid-table category. And again, I could have them higher on this tier list, but I just think with them playing, you know, the Europa Conference League, I think they can very much win that tournament, or at least go very far. But I don't know. I mean, they have just lost Eze to Arsenal, but they have held on to Mark Gahey, so that's a good hold on, and I think the squad should be pushing up towards at least top half. But sorry guys, but I think Oliver Glasner, he's staying because Gahey's staying, and yeah, I think the squad is a bit thin, but it's got enough to survive and push on towards lower mid-table at least. And then into 12th place, this is where it gets a bit trickier. I'm going with Bournemouth in 12th. And I kind of wanted to put Bournemouth in my top half, but I've gone 12th place. It's a similar reason to a few teams down here. I just worry the squad's a bit thin. I mean, Bournemouth had lost a lot of their key players, like a lot of good players, Kirkes to Liverpool, but they've also held on to a few good players, and I think Areola, he can get mid-table finish, and he could, I am a firm believer that one season he may finish in Europe, or in the European places with Bournemouth, with the right signings, but I think this time round it'll be another mid-table finish for Bournemouth in 12th. And then 11th, and this is a bit of a drop-off here, I'm going with Nottingham Forest. I had Forest in 8th place originally, in my original predictions, but I think I've been impressed by them. But, you know, they won 3-0 one week, and then they went on and lost 3-0 to West Ham the following week. I feel like this season could be a bit like that. And, of course, they have got European football, the Europa League, to contest with. And I think that may just result in a slight drop-off for Nottingham Forest this season. I think, you know, they've brought in a few good players, but I just think that European football might hinder them this season. And then we move into the top half, and in 10th place, I'm going with Brighton. I think Fabian Hosler, he's brought in some good appointments. And I like what Brighton has done. Yeah, they lost João Pedro to Chelsea, but they, they've brought in a few good players, like I just said. And, yeah, I think the Brighton squad they have, like the Welbecks, the Matomas, Mintes, Lewis Dunk maybe. I think they're strong enough. And James Milner's still there. He scored a penalty the other day. I'll be honest, I was there that day actually thinking, does James Milner even still play? Like, I thought he was in the Brighton bench, but he actually went on and scored the penalty, becoming the second oldest and second youngest. He's got both the records, but second oldest goal scorer in the Premier League now. I think the squad is definitely strong enough to be pushing up towards Europe again, but I just wonder if, I think it'll be a top half finish for Brighton, but only just. And then into 9th place, I'm going with Everton. And this is actually one place higher than I originally had them. I had them in 10th. And I just think, it's like I keep saying, I think moving into their new stadium might help them here. It's exciting. And the players David Moyes has brought in, the likes of Jack Grealish, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Tyler Dibbling, and of course with the deadline, transfer window deadline day finishing yesterday, they have brought in Merlin Roll as well, and I think he could be a heck of a player for them as well. I think Everton, everything's looking up for them, and I think they deserve it after quite a few relegation scraps in the last few seasons. And 9th place is where I have them. And then into 8th place, I'm going with Aston Villa, the final team in higher mid-table, first team to miss out on Europe. And that's risky, because Aston Villa, as of right now, they're the only team in the whole league to not score a goal so far this season. But I think when things click under Unai Emery, I think they might, they'll start pushing on and up towards European football. I just think they'll fall just short, maybe just because of this difficult, tricky start to the season they've had. A bit like Sheffield United, I put in the Championship. Go and watch that video if you haven't already. But, yeah, Aston Villa, they've kept Emi Martinez. He's a good goalkeeper for them. And then they've brought in, like, Jadon Sancho, Harvey Elliott. Those are two good signings for them. They needed some signings, and I think that is a good hold-on for them. And I think, like I said, when things click for Villa this season, they'll start pushing on. It reminds me of last time they've made 7th place in the Championship, in the Premier League. And then on to the, European football places. And in 7th place, and making Europa Conference League football, I've got Manchester United. And that'll be weird, seeing Manchester United in the Conference League. Like, that is quite a big, it is better than no football, but no European football. But it would be weird, considering, West Ham's won it, Chelsea's won it, and back in Palace probably to win it this season. And Man United could very much win it if they were in it. But back to Premier League. Yeah, they've brought in, Cunha and Mbeumo, Sesko. And I think the players they're bringing in can gel. They can click together, and I think they'll push on. I think they'll push on more as a unit, and I think 7th place, and they will make European football. But I don't know if Ruben Amorim will still be there by the end of the season. I'd like him to be, but I don't know if he will be. And then into 6th place and making Europa League, I've gone with Newcastle. And Newcastle, they've just lost Isak to Liverpool, but they have brought in the likes of, Anthony Elanga. They brought in Wissa as well from Brentford. Those are good signings, and along with the squad they already have, I think that Newcastle squad looks strong this season coming, and I think they can push on and make European football again. Not Champions League this time. Of course, they've got Champions League nights to contest with this season. I think that could hinder them a bit this year, but I think they'll be strong enough to make Europe again. And then we've got our top 5 down here. And in 5th place, and the first one in the Champions League, I'm going with Tottenham. And this is a risky one, because Tottenham already, having won the Europa League, they already have Champions League football to contest with. But I like what they're doing. I like the fact they brought in Kudus. And, I like the squad they have. They obviously, as I say, have lost Son, but I think the squad is looking strong. I think they brought in Xavi Simons as well. They're bringing in some good players, some quality signings. And I have a feeling, because obviously they beat Man City 2-0. They've got back-to-back wins, I think, in the Premier League. And I've been impressed so far. And I've originally had them 7th. I've got them climbing 2 places. But I think they'll just get in there again. But I think Champions League could hinder them, although I don't know how far they'll make it in that contest. At least the round of 16, that's what I'm going to say. And then we've got the same top 4 I had at the start of the season, but I'll tell you, it's in a different order. And in 4th place, primarily because of the tricky start, I'm going with Manchester City. And this isn't... I could very much see City still fighting for the title. I had them as potential title favourites last week, but they've lost back-to-back games against Spurs and... Is it Brighton did they lose to? And I think what Pep is doing, what he can do, is he always seems to start slow when he does, and then he always seems to go on a run. And I think it could be more of the same this season. I think he'll ultimately make Champions League football, but I think it might be 4th place this time because of the tricky start he's had. We'll have to see what he does. Of course, they've brought in Ain't Nuri and Cherki, but that goalkeeper crisis is a bit weird because they brought in James Trafford, but they've just brought in Donnarumma from PSG as well. I don't know if there'll be a rivalry there because of losing Ederson, but I don't know if there'll be a rivalry there, and that I'm a bit worried about. And then on to 3rd place, I'm going with Chelsea. I think Chelsea look strong. They're just building their squad up, and I like what Enzo Maresca's doing there. I think they can ultimately push on and make Champions League football, and top 3 in fact. I think the squad is strong. I think Enzo's a good manager, and I think everything's looking up there at Stamford Bridge. I think that, like a few teams here, I think they'll get most of the points at home, but 3rd place is where I've got them. And then we're down to probably most people's favourites for the top 2, Arsenal and Liverpool. And it's no surprise really, in 2nd place I'm going with Arsenal, and I am going for Liverpool to be champions once again. And let's start with Arsenal. They've brought in Victor Gyökeres, they brought in Eberechi Eze, Noni Madueke in the transfer window over the summer. And the squad I think they have is strong enough to make top 2 again. But ultimately, I think it'll be a 4th consecutive runner-up spot for Arsenal here. I think Champions League is definitely going to be theirs again. And I think they might actually go quite far in that competition this year. But I think when I compare the 2 squads, I think Liverpool's is just a bit stronger. And talking of which, let's go on to my favourites to win the league this year, Liverpool. They've brought in, well, Florian Wirtz, Frimpong, although he's injured now. They brought in Ekitike, and Kirkes. Of course, they did just bring in Alexander Isak. What a signing he could be. They did miss out on signing Mark Gay. He stayed at Palace. But that squad looks strong, doesn't it? Arne Slot's a good manager. He knows what it takes to win the league. And they could be my favourites for the Champions League this season as well. I think they could at least win 2 of those trophies. And anyway, there you have it, guys. My entire 1st to 20th or 20th to 1st updated Premier League predictions. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And make sure to like the video. I'm going for 3 likes as a like target. And yeah, we'll see if this turns out more accurate than my original predictions. And anyway, I'll see you all in the next one. See you later.